All right, so we're gonna share it with the chat. So, chat, Concord obviously was a massive failure, very, very massive failure, and we are at the situation now where obviously it's time to pay the piper, right? And people, this is what we talk about all the time. Where I say that it's only you can only do this so long. It doesn't matter how big you are as a company. You can only do this so long. You can only do dumb shit like Concord or whatever so long before eventually something is going to happen. And surprisingly, it usually isn't the CEO that takes the hit. Normally, it's the developers. You got layoffs or whatever. But to be fair, that's all been happening anyway, right? The Firewalk Studios got laid off. I forgot the name of the other studio. They got laid off after Concord failed. But there was 2 studios that got laid off after Concord failed. But now it's time to pay the piper for the CEO. And Herman Holtz is the man whose name was everywhere. Herman Holtz was the one who pushed Concord. Herman Holtz was the one who said that Concord was going to be the next Star Wars for Sony or PlayStation. He genuinely believed that. And he's the reason why Concord even saw the light of day to begin with at the end of the day. Well, apparently now he has been demoted. He has lost his position as co-CEO because it was being shared by him and Nishino. Now Nishino takes full control over Sony, and Herman Holtz is out as co-CEO. What do you think about that?
Oh, cry me a river and float upstream. I mean, he has greenlit.
I have a crying video if you want it.
Yeah. That would be
It's
good.
actually perfect right now. Here we go. Let me play it.
It really is perfect.
It's such a fitting clip, man. That's got to be the best clip I've ever come up with.
It is good.
Fantastic. Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
But he has greenlit other successful things in the past. Like, he has been the head of PlayStation Studios for a very long time, and he has seen a lot of success. But he is the reason why Concord even existed. He's the one that went out of his way to buy Firewalk and to convince everybody else at the company that this was going to be their next smash hit. And they were getting kind of desperate for one, because as game development times get longer and it takes years and years between installations, they needed something else that was big. And he's the reason why, you know, they went for Concord. And well, it was his last big decision, and he deserves what he's getting.
I mean, you know, in the real world, you know, at least I should say my former career, you know, one of the old sayings that was passed around was, you're only as good as your last month. Right. So like you can have amazing months where you're just doing so good. But if you got 1 month where you're really fucking terrible, like you're really just fucking things up. It's the same thing here. This was such a massive failure that somebody had to answer for it. And it wasn't just going to be the studio. Right. And I gotta be honest with you, I am a little shocked. Because like you said, he has a long history with Sony. It's not like he's being fired. I want everybody to understand he's not being fired, but he's being demoted to another subsector of Sony. And he's still technically holding the title of CEO just for something else. But he is in fact being demoted because obviously he's losing power over the company as a whole. And it is just one of those things where somebody had to pay for it. Somebody had to answer for Concord losing all that money, you know, and it was, you know, it should be him. It really should be. As much as, again, he has a history with Sony, it should be him. Very rarely do we see the CEOs held accountable for the nonsense that they push on their lower level employees. Now, granted, a lot of these lower level employees, they love this shit, right? They love the activism. They get to do activism for free. They get to do it on the company's dime. They don't care. But like we keep telling these developers, you can only do free activism for so long before somebody's got to pay up. And usually it's them by themselves, but this time it was them and the co-CEO.
Well, right. And plus with Concord, you know, Firewalk was completely shut down. That was completely gutted. We don't even know what they are going to do with the story mode, because for Concord, they had an entire story mode made. There was like 400 people that were credited for that. I wonder if they'll repurpose that and they'll try to republish it later on as something completely different with like updated graphics and character models. And maybe then he could like slightly redeem himself, I guess. But ultimately, I mean, Firewalk paid the price, he paid the price, and yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name. I'm gonna look it up right now. Of the other studio that was closed down. I can't.
I don't remember.
Firewalk Studios closed down. I can't find the other
Was this
one,
only
man.
a couple months ago?
Yeah, it was very. Oh, Neon Koi. Neon
Oh,
Koi.
Neon
There you
Koi,
go.
yes.
It's the mobile game developer,
Yeah.
Neon Koi. Yeah. So Neon Koi got taken down, and Firewalk Studios all in one shot. So you can officially say that Concord was such a failure, and it was so damaging that not only did it kill one studio, it killed two studios, and it got rid of a fucking CEO that's been at Sony for a long time. I mean,
Yep.
this game, wow. Talk about taking bodies. This game has taken a lot of people down with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So at this point now, I mean, what do we learn from this, right? Because aren't they making what the fuck is it called? It's like something with a money sign. I forgot. It's a new
Fair Games.
Fair Games. Yeah. So
Yep.
it's like a
Live
payday
service.
live service.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why are you making a payday style game in 2025 and pretending like it's something new and then slapping live service on top of it? That's going to be another game that's going to cost them even more. I promise you, it's going to be such a failure.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to do with that? Who's even going to play that? Is it going to be free to play? Probably,
The
right?
only people that are going to be playing it are content creators facing each other so they can get gameplay clips. That's going to be it.
Fair. Yeah, so they could farm it. Yeah,
Yep.
Makes sense. But that's just not enough, though. That's the thing.
We don't
It's not
know
enough.
any developers behind that, do we? I haven't heard anything.
Of Fair Games?
Yeah, for Fair Games.
Let me see. Fair Games, Sony. I don't think so. Let me see.
I don't remember there being.
It just says Fair Games is an upcoming multiplayer third-person shooter developed by Haven Studios and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment.
That'll be interesting to see what types of people they have working on that.
Right. What has Haven Studios put out before?
Ooh.
Nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that they've put anything out.
You want to hear something amazing?
What?
Let me see if I could put it up on the screen. Hold on. So, this is this is gonna be good. So, Haven Studios has never released a game before, right? But you know what they did do?
What?
They were technical support on Concord.
I didn't even know that.
They were technical support on Concord.
I didn't even know that. That's so great.
They were for 10 days. They were technical support for Concord.
Inspirational.
So you're okay. So hold on. So you're supposed to make me believe that this game, Fair Games, is somehow gonna be in a better situation than Concord ever was, when it's the same people. It's essentially the same people. Obviously, it's not Firewalk Studios, but these are the people that supported Concord. So now they went from support to developer. I mean, I don't know.
Very bad look.
This is looking a little sus, to be honest with you.
They should just scrap the entire game at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, that kind of game, to release it in 2025, you're about 10 years late, bro. Like you should have released this ages ago. Same thing with Concord. It's like, what is with you guys trying to make live service titles of games or genre of games that were hot years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like team shooter games, sure, the team shooter games that are around now are surviving on a fan base that has trickled from whatever existed 5 to 10 years ago, right? Same thing with like Valorant. Valorant's pretty decent. Overwatch is literally trickling from whatever existed from Overwatch 1, meaning Overwatch 2. And at this point, it's like, what are you doing? They're not exactly growing, is what I'm trying to say. It's not a growing genre. You know,
Yeah.
the only one that you can really say is Marvel Rivals, but that's because Marvel Rivals had the simplest formula in the world and gave and did exactly what they should have did step by step, which is you give the gamers what they want. You give them a simple yet effective team kind of combat system with characters they can instantly recognize. It's not like Concord, where it's characters that they don't know who the fuck they are. It's characters that you can instantly recognize. They're all licensed, right? They're all Marvel, and it's not like you modernized them. You gave them the Marvel that they actually know, not the fucking Marvel that you wish they knew. No, it's like you gave them the super masculine Venom. You know what I mean? You gave them the super masculine Hulk. You didn't give them the bitch Hulk. You know, so you gave them the super feminized women as well. You gave them super feminized Storm. So you gave all of these characters the actual real way you should have gave them. And it was an easy hit. Look what happens when it's a simple fucking formula.
You rake in the money.
Right. But for this, like for fair games to be coming out, let me see what it says when I click on it.
And
fair games.
I had just sent you the link to his website, but apparently the co-founder, first of all, they're based in Montreal. Great news. Love it.
That's
inspirational.
Instantly sus.
The only thing that I will say that interests me is that he was the creative and art director behind Watch Dogs 1 and 2 and Assassin's Creed 1 and 2.
Okay.
So at least he's been in the industry for a while. Like, I love those Assassin's Creed games, but they're based in Montreal.
Nice.
Wow.
Very nice. So this is Matthew Leduc. How do you say his name? I don't know. Creative and art director, co-founder of Haven Studios. Co-founder. So who's the other founder?
Who knows? Haven't found him yet. Who's in Montreal? I don't know anybody there.
What is with all these weird fucking developers being in Montreal, Canada? What is it? What is it? I feel like if you walk down the street of Montreal, Canada, you're gonna see everybody, including Kim Belair.
We need to all take a little road trip there. We need to take a vacation, everybody at once.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
It does sound like a terrible idea, but imagine how upset they would be.
Oh, they would lose their fucking minds.
Oh my god.
It would be insane. It would be insane. Sorry for Kata and Atreus. I'm sure you guys aren't watching anymore, but if you are, I know this got you bricked up. I'm sorry. I'll take her off the screen now. She's like your favorite. I apologize. Okay. So Deus Ex, okay. What else? A lot of Watch Dogs stuff, clearly, like you said.
A lot of
this is his portfolio, kind of basically.
Generic.
Yeah.
Like none of it seems, oh my god, wow, inspirational. But
yeah,
I mean, he hasn't.
Are you copying me, bro?
He hasn't posted anything on his X account since the Fair Games reveal, which of course got instantly annihilated. But
that's probably why he didn't say anything.
Right, and I don't see anything else on their X account either, except for like a few months ago at Halloween, they posted about it. So that's
what are the chances this game even comes out?
Actually, I did find who the other co-founder is. Jade Raymond.
Who the fuck is that?
I don't know who they are. A woman. So
shocker.
questionable instantly. What's going on here?
Oh, I know why. You know why?
What?
I know why it's a woman.
Diversity points?
Yes. And I'm not just saying that. No, seriously. So in Canada, right? And this is, I'm sure you already know,
Montreal,
but all
LA
these
2.0.
Yeah, in Canada, right? They have this program that are available to people that want to open up video game studios, where you can get hundreds of thousands of dollars in funding and grants, as long as you have 50% diversity in your staff upon opening, and it could be 2 people. So if you open up a studio, as long as you have one person who's a woman, black, brown, gay, whatever, as long as you have that, you instantly get credited the grants, no questions asked. And this is how all of these consultancy studios got funded. This is why all of them most of them anyway, are in Canada, because you could get so much money from the government, and it's the easiest thing to open, literally the easiest thing to open. So why wouldn't you do it?
You know what's crazy about this is this Jade Raymond person, and I don't know, maybe Anita Sarkeesian can give me an answer. I thought there weren't ever women in the video game industry before, like, I don't know, fucking 2017. Says she's been in the gaming industry since 2002. That's pretty weird. I
Oh,
thought there were no
that's
women.
bad. Yeah, it's bad. That's a narrative killer for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Laura Fryer. Have you ever watched her videos?
Yep. I
The
have.
woman who did Gears of War and stuff.
Ooh, also, she apparently was the head, or she was supposed to be heading Google Studios for Stadia Games and Entertainment.
Stadia, nice. How did that work out? Gee,
Wowza. She's
Stadia
got
is
a
the
real
Concord of
career.
consoles.
Yeah.
That's some history. Definitely merit based, you would say, right?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
she definitely earned it. She earned it.
Love
Um,
Stadia, great.
yeah, I think Alec Baldwin's finger, I think he has in his background Stadia on his wall of like death. He's got Dustborn, he's got Stadia and Concord all on that wall. So it's pretty hilarious. But no, it's one of those things where you can get a lot of money just by having a diversity hire, like literal
Yeah.
actual diversity hire, and you only have to have one, which is again all of these weird consultation firms that all start in Canada, and there's a lot of them. If you dive down the rabbit hole, I'm sure you have at some point.
Yeah.
There is a lot of consultation firms up there and game studios that claim to be ultra diverse, and if you look at their foundings, it's always usually a white dude and something else.
And the only thing I will say about Haven and, Jade here is that she also worked with Matthew, I believe his name was, on Assassin's Creed 1 and 2. She did help with like Far Cry 4. So she's been around for a very long time. So it does seem that she does know quite a lot about the industry. But what worries me is that while these two people have created really great games, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, Sony went out of their way to buy Haven Studios for Fair Games, just like they did with Concord, and just like Bandai Namco had done for the Unknown Nine Awakening studio. Like these acquisitions, they're putting a lot of money into them, thinking these are going to be the next great hits, and I don't see that happening with Fair Games.
Yeah, I can't see Fair Games being a hit that's going to make Sony so much money that they're going to lose their minds. I just can't.
No.
I feel like at this point, I don't know how is it that we can all see it, but then they can't see it. But then again, they're not really like involved in the culture. They're not actually gamers. Right? A lot of these guys are just people in suits, women in suits, and they run around, they know numbers, they know analytics, but they don't know how to tie those numbers and analytics to culture. They just know how to read them on a data sheet. And that's basically it. And that's as far as they'll ever go. And just because those two people were on those games, by the way, obviously doesn't mean that they had any real big factor in those games. Were they director or anything, or just developer?
So looking at Jade's for like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, it says producer, and then for Bloodlines, Splinter Cell, Blacklist, and Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Unity executive producer. And for games like Far Cry 4 and Star Wars Battlefront 2, she was the general manager. So she has done quite a lot. The other individual, Matthew, I believe his name was, he also had done a lot of work with her on like Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 and Watch Dogs 1 and 2.
Okay. So they held pretty prominent roles, but you wouldn't say they were at the top of the top, like regarding the project.
No, it doesn't look like it, but we've seen this as a trend over the past couple of years where studios will ultimately put a lot of money behind people who used to be very relevant in the industry, and then some of them get very salty because the industry drops them like a rock, like David Jaffe. He created some amazing God of War games, but he's completely out of touch with people now. And while these two people have created some really great games or been affiliated with these really great games, that doesn't mean that today they could do that again, that they could replicate that.
Yeah, I would say so. And again, it's one of those things where, okay, sure, you held a prominent role at a studio, fine, no problem, no hatred towards you. Yeah. But it's a totally another thing when you're in charge of your own studio and you're the one who has to put it all together. And that's why we do see a lot of these people who held prominent positions, they end up getting their own studios, doing their own thing, and it just doesn't work out.
Right.
It doesn't work out. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess, what happens. But I just wanted to cover the Sony thing because I thought it was so interesting that Herman Holtz actually got held accountable. Which
Yeah.
what position he's in now? Let me read it up really quick. It's CEO. Let me scroll down.
I believe he's still first party. He's still running first party.
So he's CEO of Studio Business Group.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. It says PlayStation's first party studio.
Yeah. So he's still got a little bit of power, but in terms of the company overall, yeah, he lost all that power. Meanwhile, Nishino, formerly overseeing hardware accessories and PSN, will now control all major business decisions at the head of SIE. So
hopefully it turns out to be positive. I don't put my trust in any of these people, and nobody should either.
What are the chances that all of these major restructures, and it's not even, keep in mind too, it's not even like studios that necessarily had major flops. We're seeing a bunch of studios restructure right now at the start of this year in 2025. How much of this do you think has to do with the political climate change?
I think that it's a mixture of things, but I certainly think that that is a key element.
Yeah, I'm starting to think so too, because the moment Trump announced, the whole like, oh, we're crashing down on DEI, and he's literally doing it. Like, he's not waiting, and people are seeing what's happening with the border and all, like, deportation. I think people are realizing, like, oh, okay, this is really, like, it's really coming down now. And I think the grift is starting to slowly but surely fade away with
and it's
DEI.
funny because people like Corinne Bush, maybe they did genuinely believe that, oh, these companies actually care about us and representing us and having diverse roles and positions, and all these people, they don't give a fuck. They will never give a fuck. All they did was bend with the wind over the past 4 years, and they're doing the same exact thing now. Like, why you would think a company actually cares about you is so just mind-bogglingly out of touch with reality. It's not even just about the video game industry.
Which is so funny because we say that all the time. Like, we say, like, listen, for all the shows out there that genuinely believe these companies care, and there's a lot of them, unfortunately. There's people on X all the time, like, oh yeah, they believe in diversity, equity, inclusion. They have donations to it. They have grants for all this stuff. If you really think these companies care about your social cause, you're out of your mind. And what's going to happen is reality is going to hit you really quick, like it is right now. And some companies are really holding on strong, like Activision Blizzard. They just recently, Grum's leaked something where they said they're going to basically be, doubling down, holding strong on DEI and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Sure, some of them are they're going to try, but most of them, what they're going to do is they're just going to flat out fucking drop you. And what they're going to do is change with the wind. And yeah, of course, like, DEI is never going to truly go away, because at this point, you don't even need the DEI mandates, because most of the employees have been indoctrinated so much that they're willing to do all the DEI shit even without the mandate. Like, you don't need all this DEI stuff in place for people to do what those, policies had in place to begin with. They're already indoctrinated to do it. So that's why they had all these internal what do you call that? Internal, like, programs where they would grow. Yeah, they would grow, like, people from within the company and try to kind of foster an environment of internal promotion and everything, because they want people to come up from the ground up thinking and acting a certain way. So DEI has done its job already.
I do also think another thing that we're going to see is that these companies are not just going to magically get rid of their DEI programs either. They're just going to change the names of them, and then they're just going to maybe reduce some of the roles, and then they're going to hide them better, because why would you get rid of the system that in 4 years you might need again? So they're not going to even get rid of them, and that's, again, what companies do. They do not actually stand for anything unless it's a very rare instance of, like, a Bob Iger. I love to call it the Bob Iger effect, because he genuinely seems like he does care about his activism, and he does care about his political leaning, and he is willing to slight basically anybody on the other side. And that's why he's greenlighting so much of this content. Like, he thinks that, okay, right now the Acolytes and the Agatha All-Alongs, they're not profitable, but in 2 years or 4 years or 5 years, people might want this content, and we are going to have the biggest back catalog. And because I believe in this content, and so many other people do at the company do as well, we're going to keep greenlighting it. And all it's really doing is losing them money. But most companies don't care, and they're not going to get rid of these DEI programs. They're just going to hide them better. They're going to rename them. But Bob Iger believes in the message, though. That's a very rare instance where a CEO genuinely does.
Right. Yeah, I think, like, we know about the bridge stuff and all that, and I do think you're right. People they are going to do what they've always done, which is flow with the wind. And right now, DEI, I think a lot of them are truly leftist. Like, the people who are working at the companies are, politically left leaning. So I never trust a company, or companies, I should say, in this scenario. I never trust when companies all put out the same message at almost the same time. Never trust it. Even when it's something that it's something I want to see, right? Which is them all saying we're abandoning DEI, we're stopping pride, pride donations, whatever. Like, whatever it may be. Even I don't trust it. It's the same way I don't trust it when they all put out the fucking statement of Black Lives Matter. We totally care about black people. Like, I don't trust it. I just don't, because it seems coordinated. It seems like, and keep in mind, a lot of these people at these major companies, they all talk, they all kind of wine and dine each other. They all have business meetings and whatnot. So they all discuss and strategize and network. And that's why you see all of this shit happening at the same time. So when they put out all these statements at the same time, I do not believe it. So you're right. They're going to be hiding it. They're going to be renaming it. They're going to do whatever they got to do to try to get the eventual heat that's coming their way, because they already have heat. But now that Trump's in office, it's going to be, now people are not going to give a fuck. There's going to be people out there that used to be quiet about it, not really speak out too much on it. They're going to be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you still doing this?
And unfortunately for these companies, and luckily for us, we have people like Savvy and Kirsha who are constantly looking into what these companies are doing and how they are rewording these programs. And people have become so much more aware, which is fantastic, but it's making it even harder for these companies to constantly flip-flop.
Yeah, they're not used to having this level of constant eyes on them. You know what I mean? I feel like people like Savvy are worse than the fucking IRS. Like, they're constantly on you. Like, oh, you're doing this today. Interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see what ends up happening, but at least there's some level of accountability over at Sony. What that's going to do for the company, I'm not sure. I'm still interested in this buyout from Software. I mean, we're not going to cover that today, but is that going through?
Who knows? I mean, we haven't gotten any other information than what was released a few weeks ago. It's
been a little quiet, right?
I think it was like the very end of November or early December.
Yeah.
But there's been nothing else.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. That's one thing that I'm looking at nonstop and seeing what they announce and if they're going to actually go through with the buyout or not.
Yeah, that really wants that anime monopoly.
They do. They really fucking do.